Hello people, and welcome back to my channel. So today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books of all time, and this book is Dune from Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert? Yeah, I guess that's how you say it. And it's one of the biggest classics in science fiction. So if you like science fiction, you should really read Dune, and even if you don't like science fiction, you should really read Dune because it's just awesome. So I have here a beautiful edition of the first book. So you see it's an edition I bought in Los Angeles in I don't remember the name of the store, but I found it like awesome. Like, okay, this is this is a inhabitant of Dune, I guess, a Fremen. This is the planet Dune, and this is the famous giant worm that you find on the planet. And so let me explain to you what's the thing, what's Dune. So it's a series of books, 6 or 7 I think. There is more that were written by the son of Frank Herbert, but they are shit, don't read them. It's not because you're the son of the guy that you can write like him, no. So because Frank died before he finished his series, and it's not a problem because each book has an ending that could be an ending. It's not like you feel like you need to know more. Lots of people, they actually just read the first book and they're fine, they don't read the rest, and I think they're a bit stupid because the rest is really good too, but each story is a bit separated from the other. You still need to read the books in the right order to understand what's happening, but each story is a bit separated from the other, and each story is a story of its own, and so you don't need to read what's next to feel like you have an ending. You have an ending in each book, and it's an ending that's a full ending. It's not an open ending or anything, it's an ending, and you can stop there and be fine. You don't feel frustration. Okay, so even if the guy is dead, it's too bad. We could have more books and that would have been awesome, but it's not a real problem. In this case, you don't feel the frustration of a not real ending, you know, you don't feel that. So the book, let's talk about it. So it's complicated, people. How to explain Dune? Basically, there is this planet called Arrakis, which is Dune, because it's called Dune by the inhabitant of the planet, the Fremen. And on Arrakis you have something called a spice, and this spice is something that is extremely precious. It runs the entire universe. It allows people to live longer, to resist disease, and most important, to have like superhuman capacities, which is very important because following certain event in the past, the people decided to not use machines anymore, or like intelligent machines like computer and stuff. They still have spaceship and stuff, but they have to calculate things by themselves, and the spice allows them to do that because they become much more like fast in their thinking, and they can do very huge calculation, and they can specialize in like even seeing the future and stuff like that. It's a bit complicated, but basically the spice, they need it, and it's extremely precious and very, very, very expensive. It's a very big political subject, and everyone wants it, and everyone wants to have the monopoly of it. So in all this thing, you have this guy, the Duke Leto. He's married to a woman. No, he's not married, it's his concubine, but he's with her anyways, called Jessica. And Jessica is a Bene Gesserit, which is a weird name for some mysterious witch organization. They are not witch, like nothing is magical in this, it's science fiction, but it's so advanced that it might seem magical, okay? And since they keep their secret very well, no one knows really how they do what they do, how they have those strange power. Of course it's because of the spice, but what else? Like, other people also use the spice, but they don't like them. So they call them witches, but they are not actual witches. And those Bene Gesserit are having, like, they have a big plan that they follow generation through generation, and we'll learn more about that in the book, but basically they have a big plan for humanity. And so Jessica, she's married to this, she's not married again, she's the concubine of the Duke Leto, and they have a son, Paul. And Paul is the main character of the first book, and things gonna happen to him, and he's gonna become someone special, and it's the kind of guy who has a destiny, you know, and he's gonna follow his destiny. And the thing with Dune is that I'm having a hard time explaining to you because it's extremely dense, like extremely dense. It's really not an easy reading, like so many stuff, so many concepts. It's so clever, and you really need to sit and focus and read and really focus and try to understand what's happening, because it's really complex. The word of this novel is very complex, both politically, scientifically, everything, like culturally. The whole thing with the Fremens, like they live on this planet Dune, which is Dune because it's a desert planet. There's only sand everywhere, and the water is extremely precious to them, and they have an entire culture built around water, and it's so well described. Like, it's like Frank Herbert was a sociologist or something, like an anthropologist, or he created this entire culture, and it's so complex. And by the way, so the spice, the very precious spice, comes from the planet Arrakis, Dune, and you can synthesize it. So basically Dune is the center of all the fights to have the spice, obviously. And so it's, I don't know, it's so complicated, people. I just really want to talk to you about it, because this book, when I read it the first time, I don't know, I was amazed. I like science fiction, but this is more than science fiction. It's like Frank Herbert is both an anthropologist, a scientist, a politician, and it's like he knows everything about everything, and he put all his knowledge in this book. I don't know how he did, like he probably did tremendous amount of research to write that, but it's just amazing. The guy has talent. He has talent, people. So I think it's not a good read, like if you're not used to read. It's quite complicated. It's not an easy book, definitely not. But it's so interesting, and it's so intense, and it's so deep, and it's so dense, and it's so clever. Like, there is no contradiction despite all the complexity surrounding the book. The guy never contradicts himself. It all makes sense in the story. And especially the scientific part, which is quite complicated in this book, because like I said, it's so advanced that it almost looks like magic. So it's quite complicated to start and try to explain that. But he does. And it's very logical and makes sense, and at first you're like, oh, how do they do that? It's weird. But then you learn about the effect of the spice and just the history of humanity and how they evolved and shit, and it makes sense. So yeah, that's the first book. But like I said, there is others, and lots of people don't like so much the others, and I don't know why. I found them amazing. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. This world that was already huge in this first book, you see more and more and more of it. You see the evolution of it, because it happens over millenniums, like not centuries, millenniums. Lots of shit happens. So you know, people say like the Lord of the Ring, he created a world, he created a universe, Harry Potter, that kind of things. Dune is like that, but I think in all the universe created, it's the smartest one, the maybe not the denser one. Like I would say the Lord of the Ring is quite dense too, but I don't feel it's as clever. Because in the Lord of the Rings we have magic, so you can just say, oh, it's magical, shut up. You don't have to explain everything. We never really understand why the ring is so powerful, like how does that work? We just say, oh, Sauron made the ring and blah blah blah. But in this he has to explain, because it's science fiction, science people. And for me that's much more interesting, because it's something that's almost possible. You know, the Lord of the Ring is definitely not possible, it's not gonna happen ever. This can be the future. It's possible that something similar happened, and that's amazing to imagine that. Like the book was written in 65, I think, 1965, and you know, it's very advanced for its time. And by the way, there is a movie Dune that I don't really like, but there is also a documentary about Jodorowsky's Dune, this one. I put a link in the description. It's a documentary about Jodorowsky, who is a director, a movie director, who was supposed to make a Dune movie before Star Wars existed. So he didn't make it for several reasons, but he was very far into his work. Like he already made lots of things, he just never actually filmed it, but he prepared everything. And if this movie went out back then, when before Star Wars, you know, it would have been a big ass revolution like Star Wars was, and it would maybe have changed the way cinema is today. I don't know, and I think personally it would have been much better than Star Wars, because I like Star Wars, but it's very nice, it's all gentle and kind of childish. I mean, it's not childish, that's what I mean, but it's a bit immature. It's not so dense than Dune. It's not so mature, so dark, so clever. And if the movie was made, and from the documentary you can see that the movie would probably have been awesome, it would have been a much better movie, more like 2001 from Stanley Kubrick, more that kind of weird as experimental science fiction, and more mature, you know, and I prefer mature stuff. I'm just like that. So I just think people, you should all read Dune if you just like good stories with good universe, but just be prepared. It's a difficult read, but it's worth it. It's really worth it. Just go, and it's a bit dry, but just go and read it, and it's passionating. It's amazing. It's really one of the best books I've ever read, really. So I'm just gonna show you again the cover, because it's really pretty and I'm so proud that I found this. So you see, it's really, really nice. Oh, and also inside you have some sort of design at the back end, and here too. And yeah, it's amazing. I love it. So, well, if you have read Dune, please leave a comment and tell me what you thought about it, and I'd be glad to hear about that, because I feel that it gives a very different reaction to people depending on, well, who they are. It's not, because it's such a special book, you know. So yeah, don't forget to leave a comment to like the video and to subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!